Hi everyone, this is Ivan. You may have seen the previous video in here how to do the script. If not, please see the link in the description in the YouTube. Today, I'll talk about how we can evolve from this script. If you notice, the script is straight to the point, but it's difficult to maintain and it's not readable. So this is the original script. See, it's straightforward, but it's kind of not readable. So I'm going to show you a few design patterns so that your script will be more modular, more readable and maintainable, which is what some folks may call it elegant. Now go to GitHub for the version 2. The link will be in the YouTube description. Right. Scroll down and click on this. Alright. Okay. So what you should have actually download in here so that you can actually open up this document. So I want you to open up this document and read it. Okay. So there are setup steps which I will not go through. But please remember to change the configuration. So this is the configuration file. It's in here. And we have got to change the settings in here, especially for the Firefox and Chrome driver. So make sure that you change the path for both of these and you should be fine. And depending on your resolution, you should also change this, right? So maybe for higher resolution, you might want to reduce or increase this. And you can also set the email generation to be random or either that from the user file. So in the previous version, it is basically like writing line by line, calling without any thoughts of restructuring the script. So you can see that this is very lengthy, all the user data, right? All the modules all lump out in here, the methods are lump out in here, and these are actually line by line, which is pretty fine if you are just wanting to know whether it works for you. But it gets into more problems of readability if the script actually becomes longer. So in the current version, I've actually restructured it in such a way that, example, that this is a test case one. So you just go to the landing page and the home sign in, and you'll just follow the test step one by one: gender, customer name, password, birthday, address, mobile number, aliases, and register and validate. So you can see that these steps are actually straightforward without any user data. And to call upon this test, I basically come to here and decide what sort of browser. Is it Chrome or Firefox? From the configuration, and I will set the page objects, initialize the page object by using the configuration data. So the configuration data actually contains all the project configurations, the web drivers, the users data, etc. And finally, I maximize the window. So in this case, you can see that it is very straightforward, follows exactly like what you write in the test documents, and the setup is relatively straightforward. It's just like two line or three lines of code, right? So what is the structure for this design? Okay, so this is the project folder. That means bring this up. Okay, So basically we have the browser driver, the control, the data, the page object, and the test case. The browser driver package actually allows us to call the driver manager and get the different web drivers. It could be Chrome driver or Firefox driver, or you could actually include it on, add more to it. Right. The test case is where we write the test case, the test steps in here. And the control package is where we have the project configuration like browser type, the extension of Selenium web drivers. I could actually extend the Selenium web drivers into maybe by creating things like scrolling, right? And also the element strings. And the page objects is where the individual page objects represent each page that we test. We call the page object manager to call the individual page objects itself. Alright, and then finally we have the data, where we call the data extraction manager to call the user data. So this is the flow of the design, the test script itself. So we start from here, the start, and you go to the test script where it contain the test cases. So during initialization, you call the configuration. So in the configuration, it will actually inherit the web drivers and also inherit the user data. So it contains all the user data properties and the web drivers properties and other project settings. And this will actually send out to the page object managers, which it will actually initialize the individual page object models, the home, create account, and my account, while you're running the individual test steps. And the page object model, the individual page object models, it will actually inherit the base page model, which will actually get those Selenium's APIs and the extended API from the common class. And of course, the common class will actually inherit the properties from the Selenium framework. And finally, while you are going through the individual test cases, it will actually take the strings from this log element, and it will actually validate the results through here. And so this is the overall flow of the design. It's actually very modular, and it can be actually very reusable. You can see different partitions around it. Right, the page object, the web drivers, the data extraction, and the controllers right in here. Okay, let's run the test script. Right, so there are two test script, two scenario, the same as the original one. The output will be exactly the same. The first scenario is where it will actually create a new customer account, filling all the mandatory data and register. And you'll check the account has been registered by making sure that in my account there's this string. Welcome to your account. Here you can manage all your personal information and orders. And that will actually pass, indicate a pass if that string actually exists. So in scenario 2, it is exactly the same thing, except that it will not input the mobile number. And of course, when it register, there will be an error message, which this will actually validate in the create account page object, that you must register at least one phone number, right? This error message. And if this error message appears, it pass. So let's run the first scenario, right? The browser is Chrome. And let's run through here. right? The TestNG one. You can actually click on TestNG one and run it. Right, so this call out Chrome, and it will click on the sign, random email, create a customer data based on the Excel, and it will register and close. So you see, you actually validate this, and it pass the results. So you can actually see the result that it actually passed in here. Let's run scenario 2. Okay, in scenario 2, let's use Firefox and run. I'll click on testng2.xml. Okay, this is Firefox. It's loading up the site, launching the site. You will create a user account with random emails, same thing. You fill out everything except the mobile, and you click register and an error, which is what you saw just now. It's pretty fast. So the test actually passed. You can see it passed. You can actually see the test results in here whenever after you run the test. Immutable report.html. This is where we just run the scenario 2. So it passed. And if you remember that in the flow, I mentioned that it does a screen capture. So let me refresh this. Right. So you see the screen capture. So there's a screen capture in here. The error message for the second scenario. Right. So there's a screen capture. And for the first scenario, this is where it will actually show this thing. It will capture the screen. So it actually works. So is making your code more readable and easier to maintain worth it? Well, I strongly believe so, but to what extent? It depends on your project needs, automation lifespan, like whether the automation is it supposed to last for 1 year, 2 year, or is it maybe only 1 day, 2 day? Your resource and who is collaborating it, like who is reading it? Is it you alone or your team? So let's say that if your project is only for a week and it's only a quick demo for feasibility studies, then it may be not worthwhile to do such a restructuring, refactoring design. It could be simpler. Overdoing so is not advisable in this case. In fact, I spend much more time cleaning up the code in this repo than the original script. So it just take me a couple of hours to write the original script, but it took me more than a day to clean up the code. So you have to measure your time constraint resources, your project's needs, and your team resource before deciding what sort of designs are worthwhile. After all, automation is supposed to help you and your time, not give you more work than necessary. You have to decide whether this project is a long-term, mid-term, or whatsoever. So this is an important advice which I can give you. And that's all for now. Thank you.